Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and for years, my favorite car on the new car market was the Mark 7.5 Volkswagen Golf GTI. That car to me is a perfect exemplification of driver engagement, practicality, affordability, and enough of an analog driving experience to just be the perfect car baked all into one. When the Mark 8 GTI came along and Volkswagen killed off the regular Golf for us Yanks here, it was never quite as sold. There's a certain charm to this Golf GTI that was lost on me. Fortunately here for 2026, Volkswagen has made some subtle but impactful changes to the GTI, and they've made it better. I still don't love it as much as the Mark 7.5 or even just the normal Mark 7 in general, but I will say this is one of my favorite cars I've driven in a good bit of time. If you do want to see more on the Volkswagen GTI, check the link below. We've got a dedicated review of the Harman Kardon audio system, and we also have a highway fuel economy test where I went out and did 100 miles driving at steady state 70 miles per hour to get a realistic number for this car. Spoiler alert, it did quite well. No video sponsor here today. However, I will say that it is windy, it is a bit chilly, and it's also about 6 p.m. I don't like filming videos in the evening here, but our babysitter called in unavailable for today. So this is what you got to do sometimes when you got kids and you work for yourself. You work in the evening. So just know that I am ready to get home and have some dinner, but not before I tell you my pros and cons here with the Golf. And the first pro is the general interior layout of this car. In fact, it extends a little bit to general usability as well. Between the proxy key when you first walk up to the car, getting in, getting a nice balance in this SE model here of power recline, but manual height and forward and backward adjustment. And then this, perhaps not beautiful, but effective interior layout. Screen separate, not the one-piece glass that we're seeing in a lot of new vehicles, even the BMW X3 that we just tested. Pretty clean and simple, straightforward layout here. However, still a nice little spot to put something like a phone there, wireless charging for phone there. This little cup holder area that pops out, and then theoretically you could have a second cup holder right there, and then a multi-height adjustable and length adjustable center armrest. Very classic Volkswagen there. These pretty cool seats. I think all three versions of the GTI, the three different trims, get three different types of seats. These ones are kind of a cool, soft Alcantara-ish type cloth with some Lamborghini-esque hexagons and a very nice bolstering. Not too tight, just enough to hug you as you whip around some highway on-ramps. And then, should note, very large door pocket. That certainly helps with storage. And then in the back, I've actually had Eve's rear-facing Duna car seat in the back here for most of the week. In fact, you can see some of the gunk from that. This seat did have to get scooted forward a little bit, but Alyssa was still able to ride up front, no problem. In the back, you've got vents, you've got USB-C power points. Check this out. Little spots here to put a cell phone, which I think is pretty cool. If passengers are riding back here, they'd have places here for cell phones, sunglasses, snacks. Little place to put a water bottle right there in the door, and then groupie drink holders right here in the middle as well. This one is a little bit silly, this little spot here. I don't know what you're going to do with that. But you even have map pockets behind both seats, which is something we're really not seeing all too often here in 2026. And then even me as a 5'10" person, I'm sitting nice and upright here, very comfortable, good place to be. And really subtle things too, like look, auto up and auto down windows even in the back seats. You know, you might start to say, oh, the GTI is pretty expensive. It is, but they're giving you little niceties like that, subtle things that we've been in $70,000 GM products that don't even give you that. So you do have to read between the lines a little bit to see that Volkswagen actually is still giving you a pretty good amount of stuff here. And then of course, this still being a very standard style, non-sloping hatchback, you get a usable amount of space back here, and look at that, you still get a spare tire. Even if it's compact, it's spare nonetheless. So I love the general interior layout and usability here of the Golf. And speaking of usability, our next pro, the steering wheel. Thank goodness here, Volkswagen has given us a traditional style, real clicky physical buttons steering wheel for 2026. It sounds subtle, but it makes generally using the vehicle and its functionalities so much nicer. It just makes you enjoy being in and using and driving the car that much more. But on top of that, something else that I've been really surprised with here in the GTI, the technology suite. When when Volkswagen first introduced this new ID tech, whatever they call it, infotainment setup for their cars a few years ago, I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was laggy, it was unintuitive, but I fully acknowledge that by now, this is one of the quickest responding, fastest, and decently easy to use and powerful infotainment setups here on the market. It's still no Tesla, but I can have this car totally shut off, come up to it in the morning, start it up, and this infotainment system is ready to use within seconds. And then wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connect flawlessly, even with my Google Pixel that I've had issues with in some other vehicles recently. I have no problem staying connected throughout the entire week. Pops up right there and is very, very easy to use, and it looks great. It's a nice size, it looks good, and even when I'm sitting here, 5'10", it's a very comfortable reach to the screen. I can reach up and touch it without having to lean forward way off of my seat. That's another advantage of having these screens separated and not one solid piece of glass. I could take or leave the digital gauge cluster. It gives a lot of information. It's customizable. You can change how it looks. You can change the colors. That's all fine and dandy, but I will admit I miss the classic GTI gauges of yesteryear. Next pro, starting the engine, the Volkswagen EA888 turbocharged inline 4. This is a great little engine for multiple reasons. First off, it's making a whole lot of power these days. And it's not only the amount of power it makes, but how much power you have around the rev range. It's such a gutsy little engine that you don't have to have it on tap in order to comfortably pull away. Even right here, low revs, very torquey, and the turbo spools up quick. I can kind of putz around and have fun without having to rev it out. But it's not only the engine, it's the general driving dynamic of the Golf GTI. This car makes your normal commute fun, and that's what I've always liked about the GTI. Do I think we've lost a little bit of it here with the Mark 8? Yes, but the core essence is still there. This is still a car that, whether you're going to the grocery store, whether you're going to the office, whether you're going for a weekend romp, it doesn't matter. Driving this car is nice and it's fun. The steering is direct. The differential works great. I can floor it right here. And it just pulled me through the corner. And then you hear those silly little fart shifts with this dual clutch automatic transmission. It's a great harmony between chassis, powertrain, suspension. Everything works great. And in fact, I would hesitate to get the Autobahn version of this car, the Autobahn trim, because that one gets you adjustable suspension, whereas I think the suspension's great in this car. I will admit it is a bit bouncy at highway speeds, but I attribute that just as much to the short wheelbase as I do the suspension tuning itself. Overall, for general driving, I love the suspension in this car. I love the chassis, love the diff, love the engine. All great things from a driving perspective. The only thing that I kind of prefer something like the Elantra N is the goofball factor, if you will. The noises that the Elantra N powertrain makes. It's definitely more fun, but this engine and powertrain fits this car better. It wouldn't make sense to be getting pops and bangs and burbles in the GTI like you do in the Elantra. They're just very different types of cars. And I will say this engine blows the Civic Si out of the water. And I would even go as far as to say the Civic Type R. Yes, you have more power with the Type R, but this one is better. And then not only is the car great to drive, but with this engine, you get fantastic fuel economy and all different sorts of driving, And you don't have to put premium fuel in it. You can argue with me all you want in the comments, but look at the documentation. Look at the EPA's testing. Look at what Volkswagen tells you. This engine does not require premium fuel. And in today's day and age of $6 plus gasoline here in California, take what you can get. If you're just daily driving this car, put regular in it. If you're gonna go out and romp through the mountain canyons, sure, throw a tank of premium in, run it out. But I love that you can get great fuel economy while still having a fun engine here in 2026. Coming back here static for my cons, and I went back and forth about including this one, so it's a mild con, but I still don't care for the styling. And I was looking at them online, and it comes down to this big plastic gaping mouth at the bottom here, and I felt the same about the Tiguan. Look how little of it is actually used for cooling, and how much is just black plastic that looks like a mouth. And then I'm not a huge fan of the headlights either. I take or leave them, they're fine to me. The wheel design, fine. I miss the round ones of the Mark 5 and Mark 6 GTI. Other than that, it's fairly generic Golf. No big complaints. In fact, let me take a look at the back. Yeah, I like the rear end. It's just the front styling I can't get over, especially with that big plastic area. And then a little mini con on top of that, this GTI badge placement right here. It is strange to me. It just doesn't look right. Maybe it's because it's on the door. Maybe it's because it's kind of large. Maybe it's because it's up too high. I think I would pull that off. And then speaking of the styling, the color options. With the Mark 7, you had this beautiful dark forest green color. You had a beautiful deep ocean blue. And then for, I think just 1 year there on the Rabbit, you could get the cornflower blue. This year, for the GTI, you get silver, black, white, red, and then this pale kind of blue jeans-ish here blue. This looks fine. This looks like the type of color. In fact, I think it was the color of our last normal Golf Mark 7 presser. I want to see some more fun colors, man. I mean, I can go get an Elantra N. I get two different very cool blues and a very sharp red and a cool black and everything. Give us a little bit more color for such an exciting model here. Next con out here on the road, the climate controls. I do appreciate the tech suite in general. However, there have certainly been times where I've just wanted to change fan speed or adjust something in the climate control, and I've got to wait for the certain screen to be ready, or for some reason there's a delay. Like just earlier, I turned the climate on, and then I wanted to change fan speed, and it took about 5 seconds before I could actually successfully change the fan speed on there. Come on, it's... The previous generation GTI had such great knobs for climate. It's such a shame not to have those anymore. Next con, I've got to say it, but with the refresh year, 2026 model year, we lose the option of a 6-speed manual. And I know this car makes more sense with the DSG, but I miss being able to get into a car like this and row your own, because that manual did work pretty darn well, and you could just enjoy kind of a carefree shifting experience. Yeah, I miss it. I miss the manual. And I also have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with this DSG, because for spirited driving it's fantastic, but I did end up putting it in as our last con because it's been a bit of a rough shifter throughout the week here, and especially coming away from a stop, slow traffic, you get a degree of herky-jerkiness. And now that you can't choose to get a manual, you have to get the DSG, it's a little bit more of a, well, do we need to have a dual clutch automatic here when I've driven full traditional automatics that shift very, very quickly, but yet don't have the downsides of a dual clutch? So, I don't know. To me, I'd rather have a ZF 8-speed. So, wrapping up my thoughts here on the updated Golf GTI. It is better. Volkswagen has improved upon the few kind of niggling aspects of the Mark 8 to make an overall better car. Oh, would you look at that? Huh. That's fun. The tech suite is better, the steering wheel is better, it drives great, the interior layout's great. All in all, this is a very solid car. But what's impressed me the most is that this is such a mature car here in 2026. As I was saying earlier, the subtle aspects and features that make you realize, oh, this is a well put together car for a discerning buyer. And the other hot hatches don't meet that. The only one that's kind of close is the Mazda 3, but that doesn't have nearly the driving dynamics of this GTI. So yes, the Civic has a great chassis, but it's too loud and it's too slow. You can still get the manual though, which is nice, but too much rev hang with that. The Kia K4, great options package, but not nearly as exciting to drive and probably not going to be as reliable. And I'll go as far as to say not as refined. And then, the Elantra N. Great fun, definitely the most exciting in the class, but I don't think I'd want to live with the Elantra the way I like living here with the GTI. And I will say, if I had any sort of criticism of the infotainment now, it's just that the fonts and the colors and the kind of cartooniness of this infotainment system don't fit the mature feeling and aspect of this car and the way it drives. I'm sad about how Volkswagen's been trying to go toward this sort of like spunky, youthful ethos to so many of their cars, when the aspect that's made Volkswagens great for so long is it is the mature but sensible choice among so many cars that are not that way. So with that, we need to put it on the Daily Motor Leaderboard. Now this is particularly interesting because the Kia K4 right now is leading the Daily Motor Leaderboard. I don't know if the Volkswagen Golf GTI SE can dethrone that. We got Toyota Sienna below that, Hyundai Ioniq 9. Now, this is actually quite easy for me right here. 4th place, behind the Ioniq 9 and above the Cadillac IQL. I've liked having this car. I have. And it's more recommendable now with the refresh and the updates. But this is still a $40,000 vehicle. And there are other good $40,000 vehicles that are nice to drive and nice to be in. And, yeah, I don't know. It is quite good. Just getting a little bit tougher to drop that kind of money on a car like this. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Golf, check the link below for our other videos. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.